Hey everybody, welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Friday, March 27th, 2026. Hope you are doing well out there. Shout out to our 169 subscribers out there on the old YouTubes. Appreciate you. If you're not a subscriber, you should be. What are we doing? Tom, got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about conference you were at yesterday. I've got a very public apology that needs to be issued. I might save that for the end of the call, just because I think that's what everybody's here for. We got updates on the war situation and more. But a quick reminder, everybody, check out the jacobsladdergroup.org. Learn about that organization. Check out the long-form podcast we did with them about a month ago. And if you are in the Atlanta area, Wednesday, April 1st, 12:30, come hang out with us, get a free meal, and learn more about that group. Conference yesterday. How was it? What did we learn? What did you talk about? What were the takeaways?
I think what I learned is that every other advisor is in a complete spin zone on private equity. There was a lot of talk about how can we be better about educating clients about what private equity is. And I basically,
I think you start by looking in the mirror.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the clients just don't understand that this is what this is. It's like, all right, well, you sold it to them. You put it in their portfolio. And now you've democratized this to the point where people are now voting that they don't want it. There was a lot of, it was just, those things are very boring. I did a panel on fixed income. I tried to make it as interesting as possible. Got a lot of good feedback because, I just went for it, as I like to do. I chopped it up. I made one guy on the panel.
Yeah, word on the street is somebody got bullied on stage.
He was not happy with me. I could tell I was making him angry while we were going, but he basically was making all the wrong points, and I wanted to make sure that I was pointing that out to everyone in the audience that this guy was very wrong. So shout out to that guy. He didn't seem to love me, but that's okay. And then the keynote speaker was actually Governor Kemp, which is pretty cool, actually. He was short and sweet and gave, kind of just a highlight of what's going on in Georgia. He talked a lot about the ramp up in data centers and how, there are features and bugs to that, but basically the Georgia, because we have the newest nuclear facility that's been stood up in the last 20 years, we actually, from a grid perspective, have a really good shot at getting some of these data centers, and that because the move and the example is, Meta, what they call getting in front of the grid as opposed to behind the grid. In Louisiana, they're, basically Meta was like, hey, we're going to stand up these gas power plants and then
squeeze into the front.
Yeah, we'll screw. So instead of being like, we're pulling the power from the back end and everybody else is going to pay for it, they're going to be on the other side basically saying, we're not going to need all this power, so we'll subsidize the rest of it. And he gave the example of there's a data center that went in Loudoun, Virginia, where they basically have had so many data centers go in that now they are basically eliminating property taxes in that county because they're making so much money off the data centers and all the power generated for the production of AI. And if you look in the neighboring counties, they've been basically in a position where, they're continuing to have high ad valorem taxes on homes. So that's an interesting thought. He talked about how we actually have huge solar farms. So shout out Washington County. I know has a big narwhal client presence, but also a huge solar farm that went in, I don't know, probably 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty interesting. He gave a little bit of commentary on he says he loves Georgia Tech, but that he's hoping that he can hand off another an 8th consecutive Governor's Cup to the Georgia Bulldogs. Though he did say that the 8 overtimes, that they were waiting in the tunnel to hand out the cup. And
for hours.
And he said it was, freezing cold. He had not prepared from an outerwear perspective, and that he was just getting destroyed in there with his family. And so by the time he handed it off, he was like, man, I was so ready to go home. He's like, I was so cold. So it was actually pretty enjoyable. I've never really seen him speak outside of pointing guns at people on his campaign commercials, but he was pretty charismatic and I thought pretty open about different stuff.
He's got a great track record to stand on.
Yeah. Mo, who works for us, asked him a question about what he was, as he was sunsetting his career, what does he look back on as his biggest accomplishment? And he was like, man, I just keep my head down and grind. We'll let history take that. He's like, I feel pretty good about how I handled COVID He's basically like, the national media was skewering me, the local media was skewering me, the mayor of Atlanta was skewering me, the president was after me. He's like, but, he's like, I go around, people are like, we don't want to be locked down, we don't want to wear masks. And he was just like, so I just made it happen. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go.
I mean, he got so much criticism.
He did. I
mean, he was the laughing stock of the country early on. And I think, he's got to feel quite validated by how the situation unfolded in the data that came out, and the real understanding that validated where he was, which again may have been less focused on, this is what the science actually is, and more so on, I want to give the people what they want. Yeah. But he did that and it worked out.
And he talked about lowering the state income tax. He talked about how much money we have. He talked about, which is topical for our clients, the gas tax rollback. So he's like, sometime in the next week or so, gas prices should drop by 35 to 39 cents a gallon, whether you're buying unleaded or diesel. And that's going to come out of the transportation budget, which does of all our big GDOT programs. But we have such a surplus because we're just crushing it that they can basically backfill that for a long period of time. They're going to start with 2 months. They may potentially extend it. And we're the only state that's done that so far, which I didn't realize that no other states had rolled that back. But I think it's interesting, and I feel like Atlanta is often ignored from its economic diversity. Mm-hmm. Like you think of New York, you think Wall Street, you think of San Francisco, you think tech. But Atlanta, like if you think of the biggest 5 companies in the state of Georgia, they're all different. Yeah, you've got, Coke, Home Depot, UPS. You've got big insurance here. There's a lot of Lloyd's of London syndicates that are up around the perimeter. Name some other companies, but they're huge and they're diversified, and we have such a diversified economy here and a diversified workforce. Because you think, if you want people who,
Delta.
you've got all the SEC schools, people, Delta. We got the biggest airport, all the SEC schools, ICE. The internet. Yep. We own the New York Stock Exchange. Yep. The city of Marietta is technically owns the New York Stock Exchange. People think about that. I think we're in the right spot, the center of the economic universe, right here.
We kind of are. Nobody's
the Weather Channel is also right there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're like across the parking lot from each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to be said about navigating COVID, having a powerful economic state. He talked a lot about the net inflows of population and how they're trying to attack the traffic issues. They're going to add another lane to 75 South because that's become the next big choke point. After the I-20 exchange, revamp that they're doing over the next couple of years. So I thought he was a pretty interesting speaker. I enjoyed, had to sit through a lot of really dull private credit talk to get there, but I'm glad I stayed to watch him talk.
Did he allude at all to any future political aspirations?
He did not. I wanted to ask a question as to whether or not there was a long con going on with Derek Dooley, where he destroyed the Tennessee football program so that he would be more able to be elected in Georgia as a senator.
Something tells me Kemp would have really loved that question.
I think he would have as well, yeah. So, but yeah, it was good. It was an interesting conference, except for all of the content that had to do. There was one lady, though, and this is an interesting there's a bit of arrogance, I feel like, in our industry as it relates to the private credit thing, where they're like, oh, our clients just didn't know.
Yeah.
Which I think is,
these dum-dums that we told to do this believed us.
One of the reasons we do this podcast is so that people know what we're thinking about, continue to hear how we think about markets
daily
and
transparently.
And what we think about is going on with wars. But like the whole idea is like, I'm going to stick this person in something that they don't know about because it sounds cool and it makes me look good because I'm getting a 12% yield. But when you get a 20 to 25% markdown on something that's supposed to be your non-risk assets, you look like an idiot. But there was one lady up there who they're talking about performance. How do you position performance for clients? And one lady was like, I'm not a performance jockey. She's like, the markets do what the markets do. That's not my job. My job is to do financial planning and da da da. And I was like, that's such an arrogant standpoint to be like, me making money for my clients who are here for investment management.
I am registered federally as an investment advisor, but that's not what I do.
Yeah. She's like, what I do is so much deeper and more important than that. I was like, at the end of the day, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, we can give you all the best advice, and then if we permanently impair your capital because we're not really paying attention or doing anything on that front, then you need to find another person to manage your money.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. It may not be
It's not the only thing.
It's not the only thing, but the most important thing is, being a non-arrogant steward of people's capital and being like, it's the same argument we had with Jay Powell last week, being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, man, you're the steward of the central bank
economy.
the biggest, baddest rate setter in the world. You need to have an opinion on something.
Yeah.
So I thought that was I think there's a lot of arrogance with the private credit thing, and that's what was on display yesterday. Maybe my biggest takeaway.
Good to know. Not shocking though. Probably a little bit of arrogance and blame avoidance.
Yeah.
And
book talking.
Yeah. On the war front, we've got an extension now. President Trump truthed out. As per the Iranian request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they are going very well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President, all caps, Donald J. Trump. Again, I talked about this ad nauseum yesterday, but again, the early week narrative that there were not discussions being made is proven to be quite laughable. And I do find this interesting. I don't know that it really changes any of the potential scenarios that I laid out yesterday. I would not be necessarily heavily anchored to that 10-day figure. This may very well be a distraction, and there's some kind of major assault coming in the interim, but that's where we stand on the war front. Markets really sold off yesterday, down a little bit right now. I think the concern of the prolonged nature of this is really kind of taking grip of folks. And I'm not saying that's an unfair reaction or an inappropriate reaction, but we're seeing it play out. My concern, I think, would be that the longer it goes, the tighter that grip gets and the steeper the falls go. Meanwhile, the White House posted, I don't really know what's going on. I don't get the pixelated image. I think we've got it up here on the channel, but a pixelated image of Trump. Do you understand the meaning of that?
My guess would be, and I'm not really sure, is that there's there's an inaccurate representation going around. I'm not really sure how to. I feel like I'm pretty savvy as it comes to
internet
being online, or at least Twitter forward. I take great pride in that, but I'm not really sure what the message is here, other than like you're getting a blurred view of what's actually happening. Yeah, would be my guess. It's sort of I don't know. It's very strange.
Scott Bessent got into it. Did you see this with the Financial Times? They put out an article saying that Bessent has discussed tightening the U.S. Treasury's oversight of the Federal Reserve by adopting elements of the Bank of England's model. They put that out yesterday. Last night at about 7:30. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent weighed in. By publishing this explicitly false story, the Financial Times has officially become tabloid trash for market participants.
Woo!
Despite my direct, on-the-record denial of ever having advocated, explored, or espoused the idea that Chancellor Bank of England's statute serving as a prototype for the Treasury-Federal Reserve relationship, FT journalists manufactured a story with the headline, Scott Bessent praised Bank of England as model for tighter oversight of Federal Reserve. Calls the journalism pathetic, clearly fabricated, really went after their mendacious assertion. In short,
that's a word
FT
I know.
has literally manufactured an entirely fake policy position for me and the administration. He had a time with it. It's quite a long tweet. If what I shared with you seems long, then you should know that that's about 8% of what he put out there. And then he encouraged people to read his actual thoughts on Federal Reserve reform.
When the clause come out, it's usually a pretty good
out.
indicator that Scott Bessent is not happy.
Yeah.
And my guess would be he probably didn't espouse those thoughts, because otherwise he wouldn't be trying to cut him off at the knees. And
I'm curious if we have a super user out there that could find this, because I feel like if we could find Scott Bessent's Yelp account,
Oh man,
we could see some real thrashing of high-end restaurants.
yeah, using some real SAT language.
Yes,
like
yeah, very colorful.
yeah,
So if anybody out there could find that for us, that'd be greatly appreciated. We might do like a full deep dive review of Scott Bessent's review of restaurants because
I bet it'd be awesome.
it's got to be good. We're getting closer to a Department of Homeland Security deal. The Senate agreed early this morning to fund most of DHS. They are excluding ICE and Border Patrol. Trump said that he's going to sign an executive order to temporarily pay TSA workers. He says it's an emergency situation. I think that case is fairly reasonable to support. Hopefully this thing's, a little bit closer to done, but we'll see. I mean, I've not spoken with anyone directly. I haven't talked to Ben about his flights, any challenges presented there too.
He sent me a picture from the other morning, and they got right through. There was nobody there.
Yeah. I mean, I do think there's an element of overstating. I know when we were flying back from Denver in November, is that right, Hicks? From the Schwab conference, much was being made of like X% of flights to Hartsfield, Jackson, and Atlanta being canceled. And in my mind, I was like, that just seems like how many flights get canceled every day.
Yeah.
But when you publish it, it sounds like a bigger deal than it is. But it caused real panic at the conference we were at because everybody's routing through Atlanta. And
yeah. There was real panic yesterday for people who were like, I've got to present at 2 o'clock. My flight's at 8. I don't know if I'm going to get out today.
We are looking at a big alcohol merger potentially. Pernod Ricard.
Ricard is a pastis. It's a, I would say it's similar to Ouzo. It's green, and it's traditionally served by putting a little bit at the bottom of a glass, then adding water, then ice, and it becomes like a.
So it's like a distillate.
Yeah. It's like it's
kind of like the opposite of absinthe.
It's licoricey. Yeah, I had some when I went to a wedding in France. I have some at the house because shout out to my good buddy Antoine Blanchet. He's from the north of France.
We love Antoine.
But sometimes when he comes over to hang, we do some pastis. It's delightful. It's very refreshing. You don't get dehydrated because it's mostly water, but it's a nice little. But it's a big French conglomerate.
They're looking to merge. Neither of them really having a lot of success. Sales are slowing in the alcohol space. Number of things for that. Number one, people just aren't fun anymore. Number two, health trends, GLP-1 drugs, tariffs, all of these things contributing to slowing alcohol sales. But I think people just ain't living, man.
Yeah. Booze is, young people don't like booze.
No.
They're like, at least they're more aware of the dangers of being overserved than I certainly was.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I don't know.
On one of those things, it's one of those things that on paper is very good for them.
Yes.
That they know that. Not great for Brown-Forman.
Yeah. It's stuff like they say that people who don't drink at all have shorter lifespans, but the function of that is that they have fewer friends because they don't go out. I don't know if I subscribe to that totally, but I see it's correlation, not causation. But I think it's certainly the ability to feel comfortable with risk taking.
Yeah.
Certainly much lower in younger generations because they'd much rather play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Than drink too much and then feel like duty.
Ooh, that's nice. Nice wordplay there. Next week, we'll hear from Jerome Powell on Monday. He's having a moderated discussion. We'll get consumer confidence on Tuesday as well as the February JOLTS job openings number. I'm very curious to see that. We talked about employment, talked about continuing claims going down yesterday, new claims, being kind of in line, maybe slightly up, but I'm curious to see, are we seeing openings adapt to this environment in which my theory of the case is that people are just kind of giving up.
Yeah, I think it's almost like we've entered a no hire, no fire phase where the people who are laying off for the big tech firms who are implementing AI strategies, but for most people are kind of like, we're not going to give you more money.
Yep.
You're definitely not going to get a raise, but if you can continue to have your job, but we're just certainly not going to hire anybody else.
Yep.
And if you decide to leave, then we probably won't hire anybody else either.
Yeah.
That kind of seems to be the vibes at the moment.
We'll get Nike earnings next week. We'll get employment's going to be the big picture, though. ADP coming on Wednesday morning, and then the official number on Friday. So it's kind of what we're looking out for. Anything top of mind for you?
Man, I think we talked about this before the call off air that I kind of feel like something's going to happen over the weekend.
Yeah.
It seems to be a weekend thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to pop off. I don't know what it is, but I think a escalation initiated by the United States militaristically is coming.
And pop up. People
beyond
forget low end.
Yeah,
vodka.
low end vodka. And I think beyond what's already been telegraphed in terms of boots on the ground, that kind of thing.
Who knows what it could be, but strap in.
Yeah.
We'll be here Monday.
We'll be here Monday. I do have, I want to issue a statement. Went after Auburn football yesterday. And my comment, I stand by my comments that, as a Georgia fan, they don't particularly scare me on the schedule. But
and even now in basketball, unfortunately, Stephen Pearl, known doofus, former Tennessee basketball player.
No way, the son didn't just pick up where the old man left off.
He'd come in, commit 3 fouls, score no points, and go back to the bench when he was playing for his dad at UT.
He's the future. But yeah, to the Auburn folks out there, one of them reached out to me, a super user who I have a lot of respect for. You can tell, much like Iran, you could tell that he was winning the discussion because he did ask for reparations, which is what you do when you are coming at things from a position of strength. And I just want to put out there that we say a lot of bad things about Auburn, and it's how I feel. I want to give you guys credit for something, and I want to give Auburn is not, in this era of football, Auburn is not getting enough credit for really pioneering
for championships.
the NIL model. They did it decade and a half ago, and my understanding is that everybody loves that. They like the players transferring. They like them getting paid lots of money.
Cam Newton was really struggling to stay out of trouble at the University of Florida. His dad got a nice $180,000 donation to his church, and then it might be the cheapest national championship of the NIL era.
It was a great NIL deal, and Auburn really paved the way for these young student athletes to be compensated fairly. So we'll leave on that good note. That's all I got. But hang in there. Thanks for sticking with us. No check coming in the mail. No reparations being paid to Auburn fans. But we are having negotiations. We are in talks for a peace settlement. So we'll see what happens. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.